Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. There has been a lot of frustration in the community as well of Honkai Star Rail lately, how aggressive monetization has been, how changes have been very unfriendly to a lot of the long-term player base as well. This is affecting a lot of long-term players quitting the game. I notice it in my views as well. My stats are also showing people are not very happy. And in this video, I just want to share with you my perspective, my frustration as well about the game and how Honkai Star Rail perhaps thinks that they can do to improve. Because I don't just want to be a little boy whining about problems. I want to give actual solid things for Hoyoverse to consider, or at least the community to consider as well, so that Hoyoverse can take the step in the right direction. Again, I am a player which is very fortunate. I think my account is quite stacked out. I have most characters in the game, multiple Eidolons as well, and their signatures. Even for me, I do feel that the monsters are getting harder and harder to kill. You can no longer one-bang them and stuff like that, which becomes a problem. If I am feeling problems with the HP inflation at my level and the lack of innovation rather, of just like increasing HP and stuff, I'm sure a lot of other people are feeling the same way, and I see that being echoed in the community. So now, long story short, I have 3 ways that Honkai Star Rail can improve and change the direction of the game to save the game, because at the end of the day, I care a lot about the game. I hope that they can keep improving. The biggest problem lies in that Honkai Star Rail is a free-to-play service game, which means that you can download the game for free, you can play it for free, and in order for the game to keep continuing, they have to be making money. The main issue lies not because they are a business and they are trying to make money, but it's because they're doing it in the wrong way. They're doing it very aggressively. They're aggressively monetizing their existing player base. This means players that have been around for 1.5 years plus 2 years, they feel like just dropping off because they feel that they have been aggressively monetized by the company, or the direction is changing. I think there are 3 ways, in my opinion, they can improve it. Let's start off first with the least contentious method. I think the first and easiest way to increase the customers staying in the game, you and I playing the game, is to find other ways to monetize rather than simply just selling characters. A lot of the gacha game revenue comes from selling you new characters like Akirion, whatever not, Remembrance character, Castorice, whatever not. These units are primarily driving their revenue. Remember, every time you download the game, every time you play the game, you don't pay them a single cent. So you have to be subscribing to premium currency, to pooling characters in order to actually sustain the game. And because the bulk of their revenue lies from selling you these flashy characters and their light cones, it breeds the problem of them having to sell you many different characters so that they can just keep up their costs. Because you have to pay the employees, you have to pay developers, you can't just expect people to work for free. It's not a charity after all. So I totally understand. Some other ways that they can do monetization, which I'm surprised that they haven't done it a bit more, is skins. Skins is really solid, and we see a lot of other games. In fact, their sister game, Genshin Impact, already did it like 1 year into the game. It's almost 2 years. We haven't even had like a proper paid skin that we can actually buy. Skins add no problem to power creep. In fact, some games in fact have their entire business models centered around skins. For example, League of Legends, Dota 2, you have Mobile Legends as well. All of these mobile games predominantly thrive on skins, and Honkai Star Rail should be doing that. One of the reasons why I think they are not doing this as aggressively is because they are afraid that it might affect the design of characters, so that the IP might get muddied and stuff. But to me, it's just like changing clothes, right, for different seasons. They have shown like Kafka in a suit, Blade in a suit as well. So if they already have all these fan arts, why can't they just put it together to make skins? I think it will just increase the revenue a lot more and have another income stream rather than purely relying on selling characters and their light cones. More income streams means less urgency to power creep characters, because they at least have more incentive to bring out older characters. For example, like maybe if Black Swan is less relevant now, sell a Black Swan skin, you bring out old character, you let people happy about the old character. More incentive to keep your older characters relevant, even though you're not selling their fancy Eidolon and stuff like that. So skins, more than just another income stream, they also bring out passion in their older characters, in even increasing like the intellectual property of the characters that they already have. So I'm very surprised why they are not utilizing this more. It's been 2 years. They even doesn't have like a proper paid skin available for us to purchase properly, other than the Mark 7 one, I guess, but it's like free, right? People can get it for free. So That is one of the angles of doing things. The next angle, of course, is selling merch. For example, they already have some merch, for example, like those Honkai Star Rail stuff, like figurines and stuff like that. But one of the bigger problems is it's quite difficult to attain if you are not purchasing directly from their China shop as well. Which believe the problem is a lot of people don't have access to even purchasing this in the first place. Let me know if you guys care about merchandise as well. I'm considering like purchasing it from China as well, importing it, and then maybe shipping it out to other people. That way, at least we can help with the distribution. Content creators maybe can help some sort of distribution. I might open like an eBay shop as well to help ship it out as much as I can. If you guys are interested in this angle of things, let me know as well if you guys care about that. But either way, selling more merchandise definitely is going to be very, very helpful for the company because it gives you another income stream, making the game become like a loss leader. In business sense, there are terms like called loss leaders. For example, if you sell a printer, the printer is actually going to be negative in terms of profit, but they make the money back by selling you the cartridges, the ink cartridges and stuff like that. So Honkai Star Rail's game can be seen as a loss leader where you try to get as many people coming into the Honkai space as well as they can, even though it's not making the insane amount of money. The thing that you're selling is the intellectual property, collaboration, selling merchandise, selling skins, and all these kind of things. Collaborate with other games, people pay money for advertisements on Honkai Star Rail stuff. They can make money from other ways, and they're not utilizing these angles of doing things. Rather than they're just very focused on like a pure game itself. Look at Pokemon, for example. Pokemon has stretched out to so many different things, like even cards, for example, Pokemon cards and stuff like that. Other games like Nikke also, they have nothing to do. This is also another gacha game. They have nothing to do at all with trading cards, but yet they have a huge entire collection of cards selling their IP in terms of merchandise as well. Honkai Star Rail hasn't done this properly yet, and I think they can do a lot more to start to utilize the IP. This way, with more revenue coming in from other sources, they really rely a lot less on selling us the fancy latest characters and stuff like that. So that is, I think, a huge way of stopping power creep very, very quickly. The next thing that I want to talk about, the second way to actually improve, is what I call like 3x 13 14. The biggest issue right now is, if you notice, everything that they are doing, new mechanics they are trying to introduce, is either increasing HP inflation or finding a way to get players to pull more characters and be more incentivized to spend money to get the latest character. This is a double-edged sword. It's a bit toxic because if you are a long-time player, for example, like myself playing from day 0, even in the closed betas as well, you don't mind pulling characters, but if you feel like you're forced to pull a character, it kind of gives like a nasty taste in the mouth as well, especially if maybe certain characters are a must pull because they have a special new mechanic or something like that. That is not really very nice. And I think they need to go away from these kind of aggressive monetization and instead look for other angles of making players expand their roster. One very simple way is to have 13 and 14, for example, in Memory of Chaos. Having a new expanded floor gives a little bit more resources to players, so it directly gives back in terms of more rewards. This is just Memory of Chaos, for example. It applies to the other game modes as well. So 13 and 14, then they might be saying, oh, we have to design new bosses, every single patch is more work. But all they can simply do is just take the floor 10 and floor 12 monsters, combine them together, give them a bit higher difficulty. This way, your 10, 11, 12 doesn't feel as difficult. You don't inflate that HP. Rather, you increase the HP, but you give a little bit more rewards. Even if you don't give like 20 Stellar Jades or something like that, at least give like 10,000 Mora or something for completing 13 and 14. At least you give players, at least completionists, a reason to go all the way to 14 so that they can flex that, oh, I've cleared Memory of Chaos 14 and stuff like that. So this is another angle, expanding the number of game modes. You don't even have to give rewards, so you might not even lose money at all. You can simply combine the previous 2 floor bosses, inflate their HP a little bit, which we would have done anyway with this like HP inflation to curb it as well. Of course, you can also combine 13 and 14 to specifically have 13 and 14 requiring 3 teams. So 10, 11, 12 stay to 2 teams each, you give the usual rewards. 13 and 14, you just have 3 different teams. This rewards your later game players as well, people who have been playing for 1.5 years. You incentivize them to keep thinking of team competitions, to pull new characters because then they need 3 teams. And with more characters that they need means less characters are on the bench, meaning that you can monetize as Hoyoverse more characters too. And your newer players, that are looking just for the Stellar Jades until 12, they don't feel too stressed because it's just 2 teams. 13 and 14 is for like the completionists or like people who have been playing for a really, really long time. I think that is the angle that they should be going, how they can actually, very simply, this doesn't even take much coding. It just expands like 1 team slot. You basically have already the resources available, just inflate the HP for 13 and 14. Give Stellar Jades if you want. If you don't want, it's just a nice look that you can complete the 13 and 14. Players that can't complete 13 and 14, they won't feel too much stress because it's like a new difficulty, something new that they can chase, adding challenge into the game. I think that this is much better than power creeping HP and limiting the rewards, because you're kind of making us feel like we are being capped off on our rewards, which we will be able to like, we in the past were able to clear everything easily, and because of HP inflation, because of your actions, now we can't do it. Rather, doing this is actually going to be much more better for the community as well, in my opinion at least. Of course, these are just my opinions so far, and if you're finding value in this honest discussion, leave a comment below. I don't mean like, I don't hope for Honkai Star Rail to like die or anything, and in fact, I'm doing this video from the bottom of my heart, goodwill. I hope that there can be some positive changes, especially if you guys are feeling some frustration. Do leave it in the comments below as well. I hope that someone from Hoyoverse does go through community comments and think about it as well, because I do hope this game survives for the long run. The last one which I am feeling right now is reinvestment. The biggest problem with what community is feeling in general is that Hoyoverse doesn't seem too interested in reinvesting in their current IP. For example, Genshin Impact, maybe Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, they don't really want to like keep spending the same amount of money compared to, for example, just developing a brand new game, MMO, or your Esther Weave stuff, which is just a brand new game. It seems that they are just taking the money that they make, dumping it in a brand new game, and just repeating the model, which means that your customer lifetime value, how long a gacha game player plays your game, you will let the player feel. For example, if they feel like there's a problem with power creep in Honkai Star Rail, a lot of people might be thinking, won't Zenless Zone Zero eventually have the same problem? So I don't even want to play Zenless Zone Zero in the first place, because Hoyoverse is just going to power creep my characters. I'm not here for just 1-2 days of playing the game. I want to be here for years. And if you leave these players this kind of feeling, it's not a nice thing. So I think they need to start like reinvesting in the game. And one very easy way of reinvesting is introducing longer player-made content. Just a quick, of course, simple idea. There is a lot of copyright issues, but one way they can reinvest is creating a new game mode for players to interact with other players. It doesn't even have to be competitive. It can be competitive with no rewards. For example, a game that I used to play is like Fire Emblem Heroes over here. A simple PvP mode that is like something like this with icons, totally different. You can make it totally free to play by having like default characters as well, something like the Pokemon fight that they try to do with the monsters as well. Having more of these player-made content in the game, you don't even have to make it pay to win, because you can just provide all the monsters for free that they can play in some kind of new game mode that is similar to a turn-based game. I think that will add a lot more value than what they are trying to do to keep players engrossed in the game as well. These are some things that I am personally thinking of. If you guys have any other thoughts as well, leave in the comments below. But these, in my opinion, are the main frustrations that I'm having with Honkai Star Rail right now, and 3 ways that I think that they can improve. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you guys again so much for watching, and see you guys in the next video.